The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary-related entertainment.
Aloha and welcome to Maui Nonprofit Notes, where each week you will find us talking story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and their staff to find out just how they're working to support those with needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. If you're building or remodeling a home, please stop by Pacific Source's Cabinet and Appliance Showroom located in the Waikapu Base Yard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. For those of you who may be listening to this show for the first time, each week during this hour we share some of the experiences of our nonprofit agencies and just how they're changing lives, changing communities, and creating miracles of hope for those with needs. Today we're going to start off talking with Robert Colasano, who is the Executive Director, Maui County, for Mental Health America. That was my watch catching on the edge of the table. I'm sorry, folks. It's going to be one of those days, I can tell already. Anyway, Robert is going to tell us some things about mental health, what's going on. A question that I came up with in reading some of the material that I went through trying to prepare for today's show. We talk with other diseases about the signs, early telltale signs. Some things, cough, fever, things like that with more physical diseases, and how, if you catch them early enough, you can maybe stop something that's could turn into a long-term or even devastating disease. Mental health has some things that if caught early enough, according to this article, could save kind of a 10-year span that it takes from the beginning of mental health issues to full-blown mental health disease in people. Am I on the right track with some of that?
Yeah. Hi, Susie. It's always.
I'm sorry. Yeah, hi, Robert.
It's
sorry about that.
It's always the reason you could just jump right into that topic with me, because I've been on here before, and it seems like we have an ongoing discussion about stuff when I come on. So it's just always, it's good to be here today.
Thank you. It's good to have you here.
And thanks for inviting me. I just want to share my own personal experience, and it doesn't really touch on the question you asked, but it's uppermost on my mind. I grew up with attention deficit disorder, and I'm 64 years old this year. And when I was growing up, there wasn't much talk about attention deficit disorder. And so I suffered with that right straight through college and everything. And it wasn't until I got into the workaday world where I had to sit in meetings and be present and act appropriate and so on, and be organized and get paperwork handed in and done on time, that I realized that I was struggling with organizational issues. And so looking back, if somebody would have told me about ADD, I would have probably been more appropriate with my friends. I could have learned about it. I could have taken some medication, and my whole youth and school might have been better, because I really struggled in school. But I finally found out, like when I was probably 32 years old, about this thing, because I was struggling at work. And since then, I've taken medication for it, and it just helps me immensely. It helps me do my job. So, yeah, I think if people are aware of mental health issues and then start doing something about it, but sometimes the world doesn't even know about this stuff. And it's an ongoing evolution about how our brains act. And the more we know about it, the more educated we can be. And that's one of the missions of Mental Health America, is to educate people about the three primary mental health diagnoses: bipolar, schizophrenia, major depression. Those are the three big ones. And then there's anxiety and PTSD and other things. Not that those aren't significant, but the three most debilitating mental health issues are, in particular, schizophrenia. So, to answer your question more directly, I think when things start to happen with people, the whole idea of stigma kicks in, and family members don't want to admit that there's maybe something going on. So many people I know are supported by family members. They don't work. Their family members support them. They live at home, and they don't necessarily realize how debilitated they are because they're protected by their families.
So they're allowed to just live that life.
They're allowed to live that life, and that doesn't always work out the best because a person doesn't come face to face with their disability unless they're challenged to do so. And if mom and dad shelter the person, house the person, right up through their adult years, then that person doesn't get a chance to maybe access services and all kinds of other things.
And so then there could be some incident that is just off the charts where that didn't have to happen.
Yeah, that didn't have to happen. And I want to mitigate a little bit what I said. I mean, mom and dad and brothers, sisters, we love people in our family. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
It's a very fine line people walk between caring for their loved ones and making sure that they get the care they need. For example, here on Maui, if a person has a moderate amount of income and they have even private insurance, they're not eligible to get the case management services and the day-to-day services that somebody in the public sector gets. So what I'm trying to say is oftentimes people have called me and they've been taking care of their loved one. They bought them private insurance and now things are happening and they want a case manager, but they're not in the official system, And so they actually, sometimes it's a disservice to the loved ones if we protect them too much.
Right.
I don't know if I made myself clear about
No,
that.
we have a tendency to do that. I mean, that's just like you say. It's your loved one. You're not going to put them out there where they're subjected to even just the stigma of having a mental situation.
However, sometimes things get so rough in a family where a family member becomes abusive to other family members. And Mental Health America's mission is very much to support both the family and the person with mental illness. So when I talk to family members, I ask family members, how are things going with you? How is your marriage caring for your son or your daughter? And what's happening with your life? And I know family members that things got so bad at home that for their own sake, the sake of their relationship, they had to ask their son or daughter to leave the house. And when their son or daughter left the house, then they're outside the house and they don't have the umbrella protection of the house, and so then they can apply for services that they're eligible for. And I know particular cases where they move into group homes. And they actually make progress because they're in a group home rather than being at home.
And under the care of a caseworker that's educated to help them.
To help them, seek out challenges in their life. And
many of these things can be somewhat controlled with proper medication.
Yeah.
But then we hear so much about people this is an ongoing comment that I hear from people. It's well, yeah, I took that medicine and I got better, and now I don't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And yet, on the other hand, I hear from a lot of mental health experts who say, you're never really going to get off that medicine you're just going through a streak, and sometime it's going to come back. And
Well, unfortunately, and I'm very respectful of people with mental illness, because the psychotropic medications that we often give out today have such horrendous side effects. I mean, a person has to choose between gaining 60 pounds and being impotent and maybe being able to function in the community. Well, it's a hell of a choice, particularly if you're 26 years old and
Right.
your hormones are raging and stuff. And so that's the choice people make. But when it comes down to, okay, if you don't take this medicine, you can't even relate to other people, then, it's difficult. Our medicine is not, it's going to get better. We're going to look back to 2015 and think we were all barbarians.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in 10 or 15 years, 20 years. And because it's just look what we used to do with the mentally ill before, chain them to the walls and
or some kind of lobotomy or something that they did, or some of those kinds of things.
Yeah, so there's problems with the medications we give. However, if the medication allows that person to at least function, then maybe there's other things we can do to help them not gain the weight, but sometimes it's just and so that's why people stop taking their medicine.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, some take it because they think they're cured. Some don't like the side effects. There's probably several other reasons that people throw in there.
And then I'll just talk about one in particular thing with bipolar illness. Of course, bipolar, for people that are listening, it's a combination of manic kind of behavior and depression, up and down. Bipolar used to be called manic depression. And people that have that actually like that feeling of mania. As they move into their manic phase, they feel quite omnipotent and bright and like, oh man, I know everything. It's, and they like that. And so if you ask them to take a pill to like moderate that,
They don't want
they
it.
don't want to do it. But then what happens is the mania increases and increases and increases into a psychotic kind of state, and then it's difficult. So there's all kinds of ramifications. But the main thing is these are people. People with mental illness are people first, and somehow we have to treat each person uniquely, individually, and work with their program of what they need. And it is very much on the shoulders of that individual to walk that path. That's their path, for whatever reason that they're challenged with. And there's gifts in that they can give to other people.
Do we know what causes
Great question.
mental health issues
Very
like
good
this?
question. I'm really glad you asked that question. It's a combination of genetics and our environment. So we all have genetic predisposition to things. And if you have mental illness in your family, mom, dad, aunts, uncles, grandparents, there's a genetic predisposition. And it holds true for substance abuse as well. So you've got the genes in there. Now, what kicks those genes into high gear? It might be a kid using psychedelic drugs. It might be a kid smoking a lot. It might be trauma in the family. It might be, in the case of substance abuse, everybody starts drinking. Everybody's drinking in the family. If you have the genes, the predisposition for alcoholism, well, you're not going to become an alcoholic if you don't drink.
Right.
But if you expose yourself to that and drink a lot, and you have the predisposition for it, then you're inclined to get caught up in that. And same thing with mental health. Like a person can have a predisposition for major depression, predisposition for schizophrenia even, but if they're living healthy, if they're sleeping right, if their home life is secure, it doesn't necessarily kick in.
I see.
So it's environment, nature, and nurture.
So we can kind of do something to keep from it happening, not guaranteed.
Yeah, there's no guarantee, and a lot of what I'm saying is in retrospect.
Right.
And it's, but I know that's how I understand it. That, yeah, I mean, not everybody has a genetic predisposition to all kinds of things,
right.
Cancer or what
right.
have you, but it's your lifestyle then that kicks it off.
Kicks it off. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Robert Colasano of Mental Health America.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
Aloha and welcome back to Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with our nonprofit agency executive directors and their staff to find out what they are up to. And right now we're talking with Robert Colasano, who's with Mental Health America, and we're talking about the predisposition to some of these things that we've been discussing, bipolar,
major depression, schizophrenia, and
the whole list. And when we started on the break, he started to tell us about what he thinks the future holds. And I'd like for him to share that with the audience, because I think that's just exciting.
Yeah, because what I was talking about earlier before the break was how there are negative ramifications to some of the psychotropic drugs today, and that's why people stop taking them. And it's actually you have to try numerous different drugs and so on to see which one works. There's a thing called nanotechnology, where I think what's going to happen in the future, people are going to be able to test our genetic makeup. Well, we can actually do that now. We can actually test our genetic makeup to see which one of our existing medications might work best for us in a certain situation. But I think what's going to happen in the future is that we'll be taking pills and shots with genetic consequences that are actually going to shift our genetic makeup. And there's even talk in terms of nanotechnology where we're going to have pills that are like mini computers. Go figure.
Gosh.
So right now,
Oof.
like, we don't even know what makes things work. Like when we take a pill, they just guess about serotonin and that kind of thing. Well, I'm not going to say tomorrow we're going to do this, but in 20 years, somebody might take a pill and there's going to be like a little electronic gizmo in there that will go right to the spot and take care of whatever it is. And that could be cancer.
Yeah.
Or because like right now, somebody with a predisposition for breast cancer, I mean, women I know have mastectomies
to avoid having the cancer.
Prevention, because they're so sure that they might get it.
Right.
And so there is some certainty in that area, enough so that a woman would do that. And the surety, I don't believe, is there for mental health. If your mom has schizophrenia, are you definitely going to have schizophrenia? No. But there's a higher preponderance. If your mom and dad both have mental health issues, there's a pretty damn good chance that you're going to be struggling with some stuff.
I've always wondered how pills know exactly where to go to fix whatever it is you're taking it for. Yeah. It's like, they have a roadmap. Is there something there that says look for this weakness or look for this and zap.
Well, I had an interesting experience this past week. I've had this pain in my shoulder. It's just been nonstop, aching. And I went to the doctor. He says, well, took x-rays. There's no bone, nothing going on there. He says, well, yeah, take ibuprofen. Take ibuprofen. Take it for 2 weeks because you don't want to take it more than 2 weeks because it plays hell with your liver. And I took it and it helped. But then as soon as I stopped taking it, boom, the pain comes right back. So I was on the Big Island like last weekend, and I had the opportunity to be talking to an acupuncturist. And she said, well, let me do some acupuncture on you. And I had never really done much of that. And I'll tell you, it made a difference.
Really?
Yeah, it made a difference, so much so that I'm going to continue doing it over here to, make the. So why am I even saying that? I guess I'm saying it's my ADD, of course, but I'm saying that because you were saying, well, how does
right, the pill
pills
know where
work?
to go, yeah.
And then I'm thinking, well, yeah, there's pills, but there are all these alternative. Like, how does acupuncture work? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It has something to do with the meridians, but I know 1 billion people in China believe it works or something.
My doctor gave me a cortisone shot, and it worked great for 30 days, and
Yeah.
then back.
That's what my guy said, too. He said, Robert, we'll do ibuprofen, and then, we'll give you cortisone. But, as soon as stuff wears off, it still
right
hurts.
back, yeah.
But I'm telling you, I had this experience with acupuncture where I'm going to keep going back because I got 50% relief, and I'm going to keep doing it. Now, I just need some acupuncture for my brain, and then I'll be all organized, and I won't have to take my Adderall, and I'll be all set.
But sometime down the road, do you think they're going to find out acupuncture is not the answer, that it's doing damage to some of the nerves as it's being used or anything?
I don't think so.
You have any scare of that?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I'm thinking,
I've never heard
as soon
of
as
that.
soon as somebody's really into it, that's when that word comes out.
But this is Maui. I know I got a lot of opportunities here
Right.
for alternative.
And as you
things.
said, it's been around for hundreds of
Yeah,
years, longer than that, thousands probably.
And I think there's something. I mean, my shoulder's hurting, right? And the acupuncture goes down to my right ankle and starts messing around with my. Well, I said my shoulder. She says it all comes from here. I said, oh, okay. And so she's sticking needles down in my ankle, and she's got needles into my shoulder, and things are getting better. I'm not going to complain.
You thought there was a communication problem, didn't you?
Well, I've always known I've had that. but I guess to get back to the mental health stuff, we're in a new era of brain. I think it was the 90s, the decade of the brain, I think. Well, we're in the 2000s now, and it's gonna be ongoing.
You think there's going to be some real breakthroughs?
Huge things. Yeah, huge.
Interesting.
Huge things.
Well, I think that history speaks for itself, and today's lifestyles speak for themselves when, like I say, you've got people who take some of these medications, they think they're healed or cured, and they quit, and it starts all over again. Sometimes it's even worse. As you said, families are torn apart by this. Couples are torn apart. One wants to keep the person at home and try to help them. The other one wants to send them out so they can get help. It's a tough one.
Mental illness is very tough on a family. And we have classes specifically for family members. If people are interested in getting a hold of me at Mental Health America, 242-6461. 242-6461, or the easiest number, simple to remember, is 844-MHA Maui. MHA is Mental Health America. Toll-free number 844-MHA Maui. And actually, a big mission of MHA Maui is we have a real active mailing list, and I send out all kinds of information about trainings. And can I divert one more time?
Sure.
Do we have a minute?
Yeah,
okay.
we got a minute.
We just did a training yesterday, Tuesday, on vaping. Vaping is these electronic cigarettes.
Yeah,
You know that?
yeah.
And the slang term is vaping. And I just learned a whole heck of a lot about it because part of MHA, we deal with addictions. And this is a new insidious kind of thing that the tobacco companies is just a new way to peddle nicotine. And, it started out as a way to quit cigarettes.
Right.
But now more kids are vaping, smoking electronic cigarettes than they are smoking regular cigarettes.
Forget the cigarettes.
And then there is also of course, the illegal drug trade is always looking for creative ways to market their stuff. So people are putting illegal drugs in these electronic cigarettes and smoking them during the day. So those electronic cigarettes are not a cool thing. And I just wanted to mention that on air. We had a huge training about that yesterday at Mental Health America. I learned a lot. And at first, the cigarette companies were against these little electronic cigarettes because they thought it would be competition. Then now they jumped on board and they own electronic cigarette companies.
Oh, gosh.
And, of course, they look like a little colorful pen in your pocket, so kids walk around these things in their briefcases or in their backpacks. And so that's just a diversion. That was an ADD bad diversion, but it was an important one.
It's an important one, and parents need to be aware of this.
Yeah, and I think there's a person I want to have you invite to talk on the show about this vaping.
Sounds good. Let's get together and do that.
And in Hawaii, it's a huge problem.
Oh, wow. Always something new in there.
Yeah. The creativity of the human mind is amazing. And
why don't they do these things for good instead of
one of the biggest problems in mental health is the stigma involved in it. You know, that's what keeps people from getting help. It's what keeps people from doing what they're supposed, what they could be doing, and it keeps people with mental illness really in poverty because they're hard to work.
They can't,
and so
can't
on.
manage. Yeah. Robert, it's been great having you with us. This is the fastest half hour in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what happens. We just get into the subject and time's up.
It's always like that with you in here. I know. I mean, I think a half hour we got to talk an hour, but it goes like lickety split. So.
I know that's what people say when I talk to them about coming on the show. I can't talk for half an hour. You'd be surprised.
I'm so grateful you have this show, and I want to thank you for having me on. And I think it's a great service to the community.
You're welcome, and we will do the vaping.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that
after
a while.
I can tell you who to call.
Okay, great. Thank you again.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Colasano, Mental Health America, phone number 242-6461, or you can call 844-MHA, Maui, M-A-U-I. Great. Thank you, Robert.
Aloha.
Our second guest today, this is really shifting gears here. We've got J.D. Wyatt, who's the executive director of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Come on up to the microphone, JD.
Come on up to the mic.
Yeah, I'm going to say hi, JD.
Hi, Susie. How is it?
I can't believe, I get so excited about these subject matters that I forget that, we've been talking for 5 minutes. The audience out there has no idea who I'm talking to and who's talking. But if we ever make TV, or if we ever get a camera in here and go live with this, I'm in real trouble. Yeah. Okay, we won't even discuss that.
Let's not go there.
No, let's not. Let's talk about bowling.
Well, first of all, let's talk about a pill for making me taller and smarter.
Oh,
if that's in the future, that's one that I'm very interested in. Right out of the gate. Is that coming? All right. Because that I'm signed up first in line for that one. But let's.
Some people want the first space trip. Some people want this. You want to be taller and smarter. Okay.
I think that's admirable, isn't it?
I don't know. You get any smarter, we're all in trouble.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You might have to program that in vitro.
A little late for that one, Robert, I think. I'm in trouble already. Yeah. Well, let's talk bowling. 28th annual for us.
I can't believe that.
Which it's finally reached my age, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Gotcha. Some things do catch up, huh?
Yeah, they do eventually. It is what a day, what an event it is for us. It's our major fundraiser of the year, and we hold it, of course, at the Wailuku Bowling Center. We set up shop right on the corner there of Central and Market, and provide lots of great food, all kinds of entertainment, and a whole lot of bowling going on. This year's theme is Super Bowl.
I saw that picture
Saw
of the
that?
trophy and all that in your publicity.
You gotta like that, right?
Yeah, I do.
Hopefully, I won't get a call from the NFL. But yeah, it's a day filled with just lots of good ohana. We have some great classic teams that show up every year. A lot of great sponsors. And my staff is fantastic. Shar Tomas, my operations director, she weaves this basket together, which turns into bowling, because it's difficult to do an event where you're essentially in a vacant lot, right?
Right.
So we have to create the food space and the socializing space and a little silent auction things. This year we're going to have some shave ice out there for after bowling.
Cool.
So it's always a lot of fun.
Now, the teams themselves, are these Big Brothers, Big Sisters that are doing, Bigs and Littles doing the bowling themselves, or can anybody?
No, it's actually sponsored by different companies and organizations on Maui. So a lot of those teams are from the businesses. A lot of the banks are participating. We do have bowling lanes that I get lanes sponsored by some companies for our Bigs and Littles to bowl.
Okay.
So they get a chance to come out and do that as well. But that it's based on kind of like a great activity for your office. You have 5 bowlers on a team, and that's $500 for the opportunity to bowl. And you bowl a couple games. It gets competitive in there. People are they got their side bets going and all these other things going on. So it's really, really a great day. The folks at the Sheraton, Chef Greg out there, brings in a bunch of his staff, and they cook up all the food. We've got steak from Cafe Olay. We've got, from the Westin KOR, we've got hamburgers and hot dogs. So lots of variety and lots of fun. And it's a good long day. It's from 9 to 5. We'll be out there at 6 a.m. setting up all the tables and doing all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So
do they continue bowling as long as they're winning, or how's that structured?
It's 2 games per person, and so there's 2-hour bowling chips. The bowling alley has 10 lanes. So for 2 hours, we have all 10 lanes filled with the first set of sponsors, and then another set comes in 2 hours later, and then there's a third bowling time. So we see a lot of folks on the day. We'll see probably about 200 people coming through.
Wow. Do you get some really good bowling scores?
There's some pretty good bowlers out there.
Are they? And they come to this?
Yeah, there's a few ringers, I think, a few teams throw in there for some of the side bets. And then every year after that, the staff and we go do what we call bowling for staff's sake. And we go out and have our own little office competition.
I see.
Yeah, a little team building, a little bit of fun, and some bragging rights for office,
Interesting.
Yep.
Very good. So now, are a lot of the same people come? I mean, bowlers kind of are that way.
Yep, we have a lot of traditional sponsors, and every year we probably bring in another 8 to 9 different and new sponsors. So yeah, we see a lot of the same faces, but what's neat about the event too is we see a lot of new supporters,
right?
And trying to bring our mission of mentoring kids, which is such a simple thing to do, and yet seems so difficult to pull off professionally and with really excellent results. So it's an opportunity for us to have some fun, let people know what it is we do and how they can always support us in the future as well.
Right. Well, even just the concept of Big Brothers Big Sisters to me is just awesome. And I know it started back in the 60s?
Yeah, late 60s as Big Brothers, because that was really the need, and that goes not just for Maui, but from the national perspective, it was always about fatherless homes. And so the young boys in the home needed that that mentor role and that guidance, and someone they can talk to and trust. And so unfortunately, the need eventually also included the young ladies in the house, and that was probably about another 20 years later that took place. And so, but on Maui, our biggest need still is our ready to be match list is primarily young boys in the house without dads in the home. So
interesting. We got to take a short break, JD, and we'll be right back with JD Wyatt of Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with our nonprofit agencies and their directors and find out what they are doing this week, next week, what they did last week, what they're going to do next year, whatever the case might be. Always working to improve our community and give the folks that we work with a better chance at a better life. And one of the things we're talking right now with J.D. Wyatt, the executive director of Big Brothers Big Sisters here on Maui, and when we talk about what happens, we talked just before the break about how you got started with the fatherless situation in the 60s, continuing through to today, and maybe even getting worse today than it was then. But now, what kind of age group are we talking about for the littles?
Littles 6 through 16 is
16.
the primary target date. Yeah, because at 18, of course, then hopefully there's some college or something in their future that. Although there's been talk in our organization about continuation of these relationships, because a lot of times they really don't stop after that time. We just stop documenting and doing our casework on them. So there's a lot of great stories that are being told years, decades past, the formal closing of a relationship
Interesting.
In our organization.
That's
And
a success story in itself.
I think so, and I think it's something that a glaring miss on the national organization part to not address that, because outcomes certainly during the program years when you're working on grants, and we're thankful to have a very generous Maui County. They want to know, how things going,
Right.
how are the outcomes, and if some of the best outcomes are happening, not only at the time of that, but even throughout their life, and that bond is with that child that into their adult years.
Right.
What a story to tell,
Yeah.
and it's more likely that they would perpetuate and pay back that mentoring, and
Exactly.
that's really what I'm mostly intrigued by, is future mentors being ones that are being mentored now.
Do we see some coming back?
We do, and though our of course our case files haven't always allowed for that kind of information to be
Right.
captured and gathered, but we had a volunteer appreciation night a couple of weeks ago at our mentor center in Wailuku, and it was a lot of our school-based mentors, our juniors and seniors that mentor the elementary kids, and I made a plea to them. I said, "Hey, now that you're heading out into the world, time for you to come back and be a mentor for other kids, on a longer term basis." And boy, a lot of the kids really looked at that and kind of went, "Hey, yeah, that they had such a good feeling after their
Right.
year long mentoring
Experience.
match." Yeah,
When I guess when you have that good experience, it would be easy to say, yeah, I want to stick with it, or maybe I'll take a year off, and then you find you miss it. That would be something that I would think, just thinking from the perspective of big brothers, big sisters, little brothers, little sisters, that relationship that builds, it really is like a brother and sister relationship. And so how can you say goodbye to it after just a year or two or something?
yeah, I agree. And a lot of our matches, we've seen matches even with those age restrictions, going in excess of 10 years. So clearly they don't.
Right.
And I spoke with a supporter not too long ago that was a little that also became a big, and that relationship, this gentleman's in his 60s now, that it's went the entire time.
Oh my gosh.
They're on social media together and exchanging messages, and he's seen his little brother now become a father, and what a cool experience to be a part of, right?
That's neat. There was a time when I was in high school when I wanted to trade my real big brother for another big brother.
Yeah, me too.
And I was willing to exchange. Anybody can have him. I don't care who takes him, just so I can have this other big brother.
I can look into that as a program option in the future.
Interesting. Trade up.
Yeah, trade up. I'll have to pitch that to the DHHC and see what they think about it.
Interesting concept, yeah. But now, when we talk about these families, now, are a lot of these children, young adults, 6 to 16, we're talking, do they not have siblings?
They, in some cases they do, but there can be alienation even inside of a single family home with a lot of other siblings, or even just one or two. So quite frankly, the ability to feel a little more special, and to have that, most of our kids are at the poverty line, and certainly only have one parent in the household, and a lot of times that's a working mom. So how do you pull that off?
Right.
There's just not enough quality time for kids to be engaged in a positive manner.
Right.
And we see that a lot at our Mentor Center in Wailuku, within the Holly Makana housing complex. There's a lot of idle time, and I'm really trying to address how to serve those kids in particular, because it's a little outside of what we normally do, but it's a very serious need, and I see it every day. And I'm going to find, one way or another, and I have such great staff, I know that they can pull it off. We have plans already to open that mentor center as an after-school program, in addition to all the other mentoring that we're doing. So why I'm making more work for me and my staff, I don't know. But I think we're just compelled to really want to serve something that we see is such a great need.
See how it can help.
Yep.
Now, in that situation, of course, there usually are more than one young one in the family.
Yeah.
So is there a possibility at some point where you might have two or three siblings who each have a big brother or big sister?
We have a couple, actually.
do?
Yeah. And that is, again, that's to not minimize, one sibling over another. I mean, if there's typically a need for one sibling in a household of multiple ones, then they probably all are dealing with some of the issues that our programs address. So there certainly is, we wouldn't, look any other way but to want to serve that, if the parent feels there's a need.
Interesting. Now, would they, each one's going to be treated as a separate situation.
Yeah, we do
not
one-to-one
packaged.
matches. That's
Yeah.
what makes our services unique.
I see. And how do the parents come to you and ask for this, or the kids come in, or through school, or how does somebody become potential little?
We have two different departments of service. In our community-based, where adults in the community are mentoring young kids, those are driven by inquiries by the parents. And so they can, always check out our website and look at the services that we have, and they'll come in, we'll take them through our application process and do all our vetting. And so that's how that system works. In our school-based systems, that's where those older kids from high school, we recruit those to mentor the younger ones. And we look to the guidance counselors and the staff at the schools, the elementary schools, to identify kids that, may have some issues that need to be addressed that our services can. So we work primarily through their recommendations on kids to serve. And then, of course, we get the parents' approval as well,
Right.
Through that whole process. So
Now, are we talking about kids that may tend to get in trouble or have just no relationships at all? They just shy away from making any friends, things like that?
yeah, social interaction is something, is a concern. Kids that may be bullied, low self-esteem, which sometimes happens, in those one-parent households as well. So it's not a prerequisite, for example, but it often is the reality.
Interesting. When again, going back to when I was growing up, there were times when I wish I'd had a sibling that was closer to my age. We were all like 5 and 6 years apart. And that was like each one of us was an only child. Because while we were growing up those first 5 years, we were the sole attention for mom.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're thrown into school, and it's a whole different ballgame. But at some point, you don't really feel like you have a brother or sister. And that could have really been an interesting thing. Because, look how shy I turned out.
Yeah,
You know?
it's terrible. It's hard to get you to talk and open up.
Gee,
You know,
I tell you.
off air, we should record off air. It's probably better program than on sometimes.
But no, but seriously, it's that idea, and
Yeah.
I think of how often since then I've thought about like my cousins who were a year apart, 5 of them in 5 years, and they were just, they did everything together. They went together, do this, do that, because of that age they could. With me, when I'm ready to do this, my brother's off doing that. My younger sister is too young to do it. And so that could have been interesting.
I could have used our services. My older brother was 4 years older, and I idolized him, right, and all of his bad habits at the same time. So, he was an influence, and at that time in his life, he wasn't, the upstanding citizen he is today.
Oh.
And so that shows you that. And I grew up in a little bit below middle income. We didn't have a whole lot of money, but we had a whole lot more than others.
Right.
But yeah, that was my lead, and my lead was not a very good and positive one at the time. So our programs I know work. I was fortunate to have some other mentors step into my life that helped keep me, in a pretty good path. So
It must have. Look what you're doing now.
I feel, I feel like I should pay Big Brothers Big Sisters instead of have them pay me for it, because it really is. It's heartwarming to see kids. We do some activities for our kids as well, outside of the mentoring with our gingerbread house, and hopefully soon an event
Christmas.
at the golf and sports park, and a fishing tournament hosted by one of our board members. So to see them be able to do things that a lot of other kids probably take for granted, and to see that joy, to me is well worth it.
There was some surfing and some other kinds of things that were going on for a while.
Yeah, we do. We're always doing something.
Something.
My staff is really great at being creative and finding things that we can do in large numbers too, because that's always a challenge. Right. And then we need the help and assistance of the activity providers and those on Maui that can give us comps, because again, it's there's no charge for our services, and our kids certainly couldn't if they did. And Maui Zipline just did the whole month of May free zip for every kid in our program.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, and
they're big.
Yeah, everyone, everybody, even the staff.
Because that's one of the issues I think that I hear come up sometimes from people who say, "I'd love to volunteer for that, but I just don't have the money to spend to be taking them to the movie, to be taking them to the concert, to be taking them to this." That's not what you're about.
No, spending a day at the beach to one of our kids could be one of the better gifts you could give them. So, the money part of it is really out of the equation, and we're always doing things to find discounted opportunities as well. But it's for a child in need of mentorship, it's really about time and focus, and not someone being on a phone looking at text, but giving that child some attention because they're craving it and they need it to become healthy adults.
Right. Quality time.
Quality time.
All comes down to the quality of the time we spend.
It does.
And you hear parents talking about that. They're working 2 jobs, maybe sometimes each, trying to keep the roof over the kids' heads. And they say, we just don't have time to spend with our kids. Again, we got to remind everybody that it's not how much time, it's the quality of the time that you can give.
Absolutely. And the time commitment is not huge that we ask for, because it doesn't have to be. The kids can really use that as a power pack of energy, each time they meet with their mentor. And it's something they look forward to, and then afterwards they're grateful and happy they had. So it's a great part of the equation really is longevity. And the longer that match goes, and the stronger those bonds and that trust becomes, then the better the match and the more effective the match will be on the power of positive on the rails.
Right. So the anticipation, and then the excitement of having done it, been there, whatever you want to say. Now, you obviously must do some screening of the bigs before you match them up.
Very intensive screening. Our background checks are worthy of. I stack them up with any service. We vet very seriously and directly, and we have to, because child safety is the paramount important concern of ours. So yeah, we make sure that we, even if you ran a stop sign 2 years ago, you're not going to make it as a big with us, because you might be driving with your little, and that is that's the extent of the safety that we're trying to secure in the relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous to know that they've gone through the process of being vetted like that and learning all about them, and that earns your trust with them. I can't say enough for it, because I really think the program is so exciting, and there's so many kids out there. As you look at them as they become young adults, and you see that emptiness, or that not trusting anybody, or not being able to confide in anybody, and feeling like they have to keep everything in, leads to so many other problems.
Yeah, it definitely
for them.
does. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to internalize everything, right, and that's something that clearly is likely, then you're going to develop a whole other set of issues to deal with. So sometimes having that trusted bond that you can rely on, and that makes you feel great about yourself, and it's
Right.
always teaching you great things.
Right. I suppose there are times when you make a match and it doesn't quite work out the way you had hoped it would. Is that something where you kind of go through the process on that? What went wrong here? How do we not maybe stop this before it starts next time? Or switch bigs with them?
Yeah, it's not a very high occurrence due to the vetting process.
Right.
But we do monthly follow-up with the big, the little, and the parent. And therefore, you can't get too far down the road if there are any kind of issues that either a parent or a big may have. And when they do come up, that's something that we talk about. And if it is something that is instrumental in being, a potential negative, then we'll terminate the match. Because I'm not interested in numbers just to have numbers. I'm interested in relationships that change the lives of children.
Right.
And so, even if I fell short on commitments of what I promised to match up in a year, I would rather make sure that I had quality
Right.
over that.
Right. And that's a wonderful part of it, and thank you for having that spirit, and for having a staff that is so good. As you mentioned Char earlier, we worked with her on a few things a few years ago, and it's just terrific. And have a great day at the bowling alley. That's this Saturday.
That's this Saturday. Yeah,
Wow.
there's still a few lanes that can be bought. So if anyone's out there, the solicitation warning, here it comes.
And if they're interested, where should they call?
They should call in my community department, my great caseworker, Courtney Kabibi. And we can give probably the best inquiries are coming through our website at bbbshawaii.org. And then Ashley Chapman is another fantastic caseworker I have, and she works in our school-based department. So head to that website, and it's real easy to navigate, and they can take care of any inquiries, real soon after it comes in.
Terrific.
Thanks for doing this show. Thanks for having me. Really
JD,
appreciate
thanks for joining us. Boy, I tell you, this has gone so fast today. I can't believe it. I'm going to have to go back to work.
Oh, no.
The music's on already. Whoa. Maui Nonprofit Notes is sponsored as a community service by Pacific Source, the builder's choice. Give Paul and his staff a call at 986-0380 or stop by their showroom in the Waikapu Bayshard on East Oahe Way to see how they can help you with your building project. Today we visited with Mental Health Hawaii and with Big Brothers Big Sisters and talked about what they're doing to help the folks in our community further their lives, better their lives. We want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to join us again next week right here, same time, same place, when we'll be talking to two other agencies. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Aloha.